video filmed in spring 2020 is to show high-risk wildfire areas in La Plata County. The areas shown in the video are Los Pinos, Upper Pine, as well as Durango Fire Districts. The video discusses the challenges for planning in high-risk wildfire areas, as well as the challenges to wildland fire response in the county.
My name is John Gilbert. I'm a captain with Los Pinos Fire District and also the wildland coordinator. So within our district, we range quite a bit with the field type, mostly from short brush, rabbit brush, pinyon juniper, up into ponderosa pine. Within the river bottoms and tributaries, we have a lot of cottonwood, a lot of riparian areas, willows. In the agricultural fields, obviously a lot of grass production and tons of cattails. So we have a pretty wide range of everything from 1 hour fuels to 1,000-hour fuels. So we range from basically the 550 corridor Florida river drainage all the way to the San Juan River near Navajo Lake. So a lot of broken terrain. The HD mountains play a factor in that, and then obviously just sub canyon, sub drainages, a lot of tributaries. The Mesa Mountains that we're on here, pretty big impact to fuel and weather types and changes to that. So we see it across the whole district, which is about 325 square miles. The good news is, and you can see a little bit behind me, there's a pretty comprehensive road system down here in at least the southeast part of La Plata County. A lot of oil field roads, a lot of residential roads, and some that are pretty well maintained. So using those to our advantage helps out quite a bit. And then obviously, a lot of ag fields that during certain times of the year can be pretty beneficial to us, and then the opposite times of the year they're not so much. We have a big challenge with identifying what road systems what often, and just a lack of addressing within the district, and I'm sure within the county as well. So it takes a heavy toll on resource usage and trying to learn the road systems and identifying landmarks and stuff, and also using with the dispatching agencies in their CAD system. What they may call one road, we may know as another road. But what we do have is a lot of irrigation type systems out here, so access is still very tough. We don't have a lot of the steeper driveways, but some we do have those areas still. And we've been fortunate enough to have the equipment necessary to get us into some of those roads. The biggest threats that we see are from the agricultural transferring into the urban interface and then just into the wildland itself, into federal land or other lands surrounding us. This is a very good model of it. A lot of residential area within the ag programs and then transferring into the real urban interface, into those fuel transitions and the heavy fuel loading within those transitions, and just the overall general fuel type of the pinyon juniper, oak brush type fuel loading, and almost throughout the entire district really. Just the limited personnel that we have down here, the limited law enforcement support that we will be required in that emergent incident. Of course we can order everything and it takes a while to get down here, just because our geographic location. So on a large scale, yes, that's probably the best answer. Yes, that's a concern. On a more macro scale, where we're certain neighborhoods more so than others, the county road systems are, depending on the time of year, time of day, could be impacted very heavily and really take out a lot of the egress paths, and it'd definitely be a concern. And plus the agricultural part of it, horses, cattle, and not just the people. So it always weighs. So it's going to be a big deal when it does happen. Very intermixed with tribal trust land, and then in town in the town of Ignacio, a lot of other tribal lands. So working with the Tribal Forestry Division and mostly with the Southern Need Agency BIA fire program, constantly in conjunction with them of all our fire responses, typically throughout the whole entire year. So having that collaboration with them is key to our success, and I think probably to their success as well. So within our kind of our fire plans for the year, our pre-planning, it's fairly well agreed that we'll respond within our reciprocal zone, which is a mile either side of the boundary, and lots of cases we go much further into cross-jurisdictional boundaries. The HD mountains that run from Highway 160 down into kind of the Archuleta County, La Plata County line, we share a boundary with that. The Forest Service is responsible for a lot of the lands on the northern end of that, and then as it turns to tribal on the southern end. At the base of that slope, we run into where we start our private land and into our fire district, as well as shared kind of boundaries with the Upper Pine Fire District. So our concern with this area has been either escaped fire from private land to federal land or vice versa, from federal to private. With a lot of the ag fields and residents and homes and private property of our protection, and then with the federal property owners or responsibility owners worrying about the trespass for them. So this area is kind of a big deal, and we've had a lot of fires in this area historically, and some pretty decent, sizable fires of history. And the weather patterns around here really affected by terrain and very unpredictable at some times. We go from the valleys, the agricultural valleys, into pretty good steep slopes pretty rapidly, so it really affects some of the winds, and the topography really has a large effect on weather patterns around here. And we've been tracking it for many years, and the unpredictableness of it is fun to see, but it's also quite a worry. Our ag burning program is very supported and almost expected by a lot of the folks around here. So in the springtime, typically in April, when we first start with the seasonal crew, we provide a service to a lot of the agricultural properties here. We'll assist them with their agricultural burning. That program's very, very well liked by the community. In fact, it's so liked, we get about 50 to 60 people on the list every year, and we're only able to do about 30 properties, depending on a good year, depending on weather and other fire business. In general, I'd say the prescribed fire or just smoke in the air type fires, either managed or whatnot, is probably 50-50 mix. I think it's largely due to the education portion of it, and the getting the word out that this is the benefit of it, or this is the purpose of that prescribed fire or managed fire. The mitigation efforts within our fire district, it's interesting because of the fuel type isn't, we get a lot of fires in the pinyon juniper fuel type, but the mitigation of that certain fuel type isn't really prevalent, and you don't hear about it that much. And I think there's a large misconception with insurance companies and with other mitigation documentation out there that requires a lot of clear cutting, which, as firemen, we try not to do that anyway. So it's mostly just a thinning issue. So I think the education plays a large factor into it, but not a very prevalent thing in this part of the county. And it could be just because of fire occurrence. We don't have a 416 fire in our backyard, a Missionary Ridge fire in our backyard, or Black Forest. So it's a little bit different down here. And there's a lot of people that are interested in it, and the funding has been an issue for them maybe, or the education piece of how do we get it done. Most people are pretty self-reliant within our district. And, so I think they'd be able to accomplish a lot of that themselves. But I think there's part of the worry of, who's going to do it? What do I do with the material when it's done? Where can I take that sort of stuff? Do I burn it? How do I get rid of it? Do I chip it? So having access to those resources, I think, is probably a big deal. And of course, if people are questioning it, they're probably not going to do it anyways.